Good afternoon, and thanks for spending a little bit of time with us here at Compeer Financial. We've got some information to share with you today around delayed harvest or harvest extensions since there is so much crop still in the field, both corn and beans, on this date here, November 7th. My name is Jason Gama. I'm one of our state insurance product officers here at Compeer Financial, and I wanted to just give you some thoughts or some action items as you are looking out your window, in a lot of cases looking at standing crops still in the field. What's covered, what's not, what's this extension, how does it work? Those kinds of things we'll cover here today for you. First off, the harvest extension, what it is. So it's crops still in the field on December 10th, 2019. That calendar date is the calendar date of the end of the insurance period. Actually, the language technically says that the end of the insurance period is the earlier of the date you harvest, the date you destroy a crop or put it to another use, or this calendar date of December 10th in our area here. Compeer Financial covers Illinois, Wisconsin, and parts of Minnesota. And then here we are, we are unable to harvest that crop by that December 10th date. You may request a harvest extension through the insurance company when extremely wet or snowy conditions delay your harvest by that calendar date of December 10th. In some cases, the language also allow where the moisture content of the crop is so high that the crop cannot be physically harvested with normal harvesting equipment. Just note that that's not just high moisture corn, as we're seeing a lot of out in the field, or high moisture beans. This is a case where it's so extreme that that you physically can't get it harvested with normal harvesting equipment. An extension may be granted in that case. Also important to point out here that the cost of drying, that cost that you'll endure on that harvested crop, is not covered under the policy. That's normal. That's how it's been for a very long time. What the harvest extension is not, we'll cover that here quickly. What the harvest extension is not is the ground is fit to harvest. However, I would like to keep the crop in the field to dry down to save on drying charges. That's not an insurable cause to have an harvest extension granted. It's also not the delay in harvest due to an uninsurable cause of loss. So an uninsurable cause of loss could be something like failure of harvest equipment or lack of manpower to get the crop harvested. Those are uninsurable causes and also would not warrant a harvest extension. It's important to note here that RMA is not actually extending the calendar date of December 10th. Rather, they're giving extra time for you, the individual, on a case-by-case basis and extending your harvest for your farm. It's important to note that if RMA was to extend the actual date of December 10th, then anybody under the sun could wait to harvest and could open that crop up to further damage on a kind of a carte blanche situation. Going this route, where there's requests being made to extend harvest, they can control that a little bit more since it's a case-by-case basis, and extending it for individuals for actual insurable causes of loss, not just to everybody everywhere. Next up, steps to take for you, the insured. First off, contact your crop insurance officer, your agent, to report a loss. If your crop insurance officer, inform them if you expect to have crops still in the field on that date of December 10th. Please note that normal loss submission rules still apply. These dates haven't changed for a very long time. You technically have 15 days after the date of harvest for a production loss to get turned in timely. You may say, well, I haven't harvested the crop yet. Why do you mention that? Well, you could have some crop harvested and some not harvested. So it's still important to turn in a production loss within 15 days after that date of harvest on some of the harvested ground that you may or may not have. If you have a revenue policy, an RP policy, you actually get a little bit longer tail. You get 45 days to turn a loss in after the harvest price is announced, which it was announced this year on November 1st. So you've got 45 days from that date to get a timely filed notice of loss in. All of it not to exceed 60 days after that end of the insurance period. That's getting into the weeds of these dates a little bit. Takeaway for you at this point is if you think you're going to have a loss or think you may have crops still in the field on December 10th, just turn a loss in now. Be safe. make sure that that gets in so that the company doesn't deny your notice of loss. You're going to be requesting an extension to harvest through the insurance company if the delay is due to an insurable cause of loss. We talked about that a moment ago. Go ahead and document the conditions for your acreage and the actions you took so that you can receive an accurate claim payment if one is due. At the end of the day, the adjuster is still going to count production to count and finalize your claim based off of that. They're just agreeing that you can't get in there and get it harvested by that December 10th date, so they're going to extend harvest for you. But go ahead and document the steps you took to try to harvest, the conditions that you're met with, so that you can prove, in a sense, that it was an insurable cause of loss. And then go ahead and continue your normal and customary harvesting practice in the meantime, if possible. So just because I get an extension from the insurance company, I can continue to try to harvest that crop whenever the ground is fit and go forward in that sense. So coverage, if the extension is granted, talk about the coverage that you'll have. Essentially, they're extending that insurance period, if you will, for you based off of your accepted harvest extension. So the policy is going to cover things like quality as they are specified in crop provisions, normal rules there apply, any reduced yields lower than your guarantee, and revenue losses if you chose a revenue product. Damage occurring after the extension period that the AIP will lay out for you, damage occurred after that is obviously not covered. Also, lastly, you've got to harvest that crop during that extension period of a window, that period of time that they set. If an opportunity arises, you've got to try to harvest that crop during that window. If not, if you're unable to harvest it during that extension, the AIP is going to still come out at the end of that extension and appraise that crop and finalize your claim based off of that appraisal at the end of the extension period that they give you. That's a lot of information for you here today. The biggest takeaways for me to relate to you, I feel like, is get a loss turned in, contact your agent, also notify them if you're not going to have crop out by December 10th so that we can get an extension filed with the insurance company. And then from there, continue to harvest as normal if you can. So those are the big takeaways. Hey, we appreciate your business. We appreciate you taking time to spend with us here today to learn a little bit more about standing crop in the field. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, obviously reach out to your agent. They are well informed of this process. And also visit us at compeer.com for more information. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.